day, but we're so glad that you all could be here and join us today. We're kicking off our first session of LIT, Learning, Innovation, and Technology. Um, go ahead and throw in the chat just where you are joining us from on this wonderful Thursday um, morning or afternoon or evening, depending on where you are in the world. Ta-da! I knew we would have somebody from a different place. So we've got Dubai and India, Seattle, super early, Seattle. Wonderful. So many places. Wonderful. Well, I'm not going to keep us too much longer because I know you're not here all just to hear from me and listen to or see where everybody's joining from. But wow, we've got Switzerland and UK. I'm going to kick us off and get us started on our first lit session of the semester, of the season. And we're super excited to be kicking off our spring 2026 Lit Spotlight sessions. And of course, as many of you know, you're here today to hear from Mel Milloway or Melissa Milloway. Either one works. We're excited to have her join us today to share with us about some Gen AI projects that she has been working on using Gen AI in the learning project, not just to create it. So we're excited to hear what she has to share with us. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Mel. I know she has a big presence on LinkedIn and shares so much of her work with the community on LinkedIn. And I'm not going to do her whole introduction. I'm going to let her introduce herself in just a moment. But just want to give you a quick update or view into what's coming ahead for LIT in the coming months as well. So we have additional lit sessions coming up if you haven't registered for those yet. In next week on the 19th, we have Shelley Blake Plock is going to be talking to us about I2IDL. I would attempt to say what that stands for, but I'm gonna, Megan, can I put you on the spot and remind me of what that acronym stands for?
Yes, it is the Institute for Interoperability and Infrastructure in Data for Learning.
There
But
you
you
go.
I2 for short.
I2 for short. We're going to shorten it even more. I2. So we have that coming up next week. And then in 2 weeks, Jason Hagg and Rob Chadwick, I believe, will be joining to talk about using delegates to play XAPI content so you can get better data from an LRS. And then 3 weeks from now, Julian Davis talking to us about Think Outside the LMS, capturing real world performance with remote reviewer. So if you're not familiar with remote reviewer as a tool capturing XAPI data, that might be interesting for you to join and learn about that. So those are our upcoming sessions. If you have joined our list, torrenslearning.com/lit will get you to the page where you can join our mailing list, where we will send you updates on what are all the upcoming sessions. And so if you are already on that list, you will get some emails from us about these sessions and links to register for those. If you are in the Michigan area, the Ann Arbor, Michigan area, or Southeast Michigan area, you might also be interested in joining us at the end of Lit Spotlight season. We're going to have an in-person event that we're going to call This Party is Lit. So that's going to be in Ann Arbor on May 8th. It's going to be kind of an all-day event. We've got early bird pricing available now. We have some speakers that we have selected for that already. And May will be a wonderful time to be here. Spring will be popping, birds will be singing. It'll be a little bit warmer. Michigan in March is not quite as nice as Michigan in May. So we would love to have you if you feel like making it up this way around that time. And then we'd love to stay connected with you beyond this session here today with Mel. We've got the session coming up today, and then there's also more coming. So we've got our Lit Library is where you can catch up on anything that's past. So our past season of Lit in the fall of 2025, you can see recordings there of the spotlight sessions that we had then. And these are just some ways to stay in the loop with us. So I'm going to stop sharing now because I know you're not here to listen to me, but we're here to listen to Mel, and I'm excited to have her share with us the work that she has been doing. So I'll pass it over to you.
Yay! Thank you, Meg, and thank you all for having me here. I see Colleen. Colleen's one of my former teammates, so hi, Colleen. And I'm really excited to share with you a little bit about the work that I'm doing right now at Microsoft, and then I'm going to jump into all the personal projects. So with that said, let me go ahead and share my screen. And this is going to be a not super interactive session, but I want to hear from all of you in chat or otherwise, because I want to talk through kind of like my blind spots and the things that you think I could do differently in improving the outputs of GenAI in my project. So I want this to be like collaborative, like people like seeing what could be changed or be different. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my full screen. So you're going to see everything. Let me go ahead here and we're just going to start on this slide. Slideshow. All right, so hey everyone, I'm Mel. If you're not familiar with me, I do a lot of posts on LinkedIn on personal projects that I'm working on, and I just love the space of learning and especially learning technology and design and working backwards from solving business problems and building my own skills using these tools to do that. So I post a lot on like the tech design side of things. I'm in Seattle, Washington. I currently work at Microsoft, and something that's very unique about my role is I don't create any learning experiences. I work on products, AI products that actually create learning experiences for people. So it's a very different way of working. And some of the projects that I'm going to show you today are very like tangential, like related to the type of work that I'm doing. It's not exactly the type of work that I'm doing, but it's very much related. So I really see the future of learning really having a lot more AI in it and us working to orchestrate the systems and tell the systems that generate learning experiences how they should look, what are best practices, and shaping that. A little bit more about myself. I'm a dog mom. I have a really cute small dog. He's down on the floor, so I can't pick him up and show you, but he is like my whole world. And I love 3D printing and laser engraving. And if you'd like to connect with me, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm working on updating my website, but that's my current website. You won't see these particular projects on that website, but you'll see it on my new one. And then what we are going to go into today, we are going to go through an interviewer simulation demo. This is one of the first Gen AI projects I worked on that uses a tool called NAN, which is like a workflow, an automation workflow that you can put AI into. And that's going to be really interesting because there's 10,000 things I would do differently knowing what has passed over time. And I'd love to hear from you all on what you would do differently. And then I have 3 different things to show you from a cat cafe demo. So this demo is going to be one where it's cat cafe leads who are being trained on skills around leadership so that they can drive safety with their teams. So think of this as kind of like a franchise that we're trying to do training for all of the different locations. And then, of course, I asked folks to share this. I know everyone's going to ask about the resources. So all the resources for everything that I created will be shared. And then I'm going to see if I can work with Megan, everyone. Maybe we can get the recording transcript and just do like a rundown of basically all the things that we talked about today and like the main points, because I think there's going to be a lot of value that comes from you all. And so I want to incorporate that and not just like me, because I'm one data point, right? So I don't know everything. All right, so I'm gonna get into the first project here. So this is my portfolio that I'm currently working on right now. And one of the things I worked on when I was at Amazon, because before I was at Microsoft, I was at Amazon for like 8 years. I worked on a project called Making Great Hiring Decisions. And Making Great Hiring Decisions at Amazon is the interviewer training that you have to take before you can ever interview anyone. And I was put on a tiger team, so a small group, to tackle a project within like 2 months where we were revamping the whole entire thing. And one of the things I asked going into the program was, can we get the learning closer to when people are actually interviewing? Because typically people will take this type of training and then they won't interview for months. They won't be able to apply their skills. And so this kind of came out of that project. And we're in like, this is something that you could do in a scalable way. So we are really like, we had like 30,000 people who were going through the training a year. And one of the things with this is they didn't get practice. They were mainly going through like kind of like a regular course that you would go through where there's like questions and things like that, but there wasn't like simulated practice. And way back in like 2016, 2017, there used to be practice because we had in-person classes where we were role playing. So this kind of harkens back to what we used to do. And this would go with like a material that would be more comprehensive about interviewing. So this wouldn't be the be all end all. So we're going to jump into the simulation here. And because this is using an API and it disconnects and the API cost changed for me, I'm going to try to go through this quickly and then I'm going to pause for questions because if I stop, it will charge me more. So every API call is 10 cents and it used to be free. So there's a little bit of change there. And that's something to consider with GenAI is that there's costs associated, and we'll talk about costs and things too. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'll tell you a little bit about the situation here. So we're the interviewers and we are going to interview Jordan Kim. And there's a few things that we need to do to get positive feedback when we're interacting with Jordan Kim. So there's things like we need to share our pronouns, we need to greet Jordan, we need to offer a break to Jordan. So we need to do all of these things in order to get positive feedback. If we don't hit those things, we're going to get feedback that helps us understand what we did differently and what the impact is so that we can improve. And that's going to go through the whole process here. The other thing about this is there's a few different parts of AI in this. So we have HeyGen, which uses like the AI avatars. And then I'll show you, we are hitting OpenAI's API on the back end to actually generate all of the responses in here. So whatever Jordan says is OpenAI API. Whatever the live feedback over here is, that's also OpenAI API. So I'll go into kind of like what it's doing afterwards. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start the interview and hope that this works because it worked last night.
Hi. Hi.
Can you hear
I'm
it?
Jordan. Thanks so much for taking the time to meet with me today. I just spoke with Alex and Priya from the team, and wow, everyone's been so welcoming. I've been looking forward to this conversation. I'm really excited about the role and can't wait to learn more from you.
Awesome. So now what we have to do, because I'm doing this in a way that is safe, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, I have to go over there and actually like play that. Hi, Jordan. I'm Mel. And then we can listen to this. Hi, Jordan. I'm Mel. We can submit. And you're going to see that actually going through this loop in the back end here. Go out.
Nice to meet you, Mel. I'm excited about the opportunity to discuss my potential fit for the role today.
All right, so you can see we got feedback, why it matters. Next, I am going to go to this workflow. So I have a second workflow. And the second workflow here will actually take us through the behavioral part of this. Jordan, can you tell me about a time when you disagreed with a coworker? What was the situation and what happened? We're going to submit. It may not, yeah, I didn't think it would go through. So we didn't start this one here. So hold on a second. So part of the reason that I have this set up in this way, just so folks know, let's see, is because it's using my API and I don't want someone to be able to spam the API. So let's do this. See if we can submit.
Sure, I can think of a time at Brightwave Marketing when I had a disagreement with a colleague over the direction of an email marketing campaign. We were tasked with increasing engagement rates for a client in the retail sector. My colleague believed that we should focus more on flashy graphics and animations to capture attention. Meanwhile, I felt that a more personalized approach, using segmented lists and tailored content, would be more effective. What I remember most is that we had a few productive discussions to hash out our perspectives. We eventually agreed to run A/B tests to see which approach would yield better engagement results. It was a good way to blend our ideas and let the data guide our decision.
All right, so we didn't get the results portion of that. So he's supposed to answer in star format and sometimes miss things. So we're going to ask a question about results. Jordan, can you tell me about what were the results of that project? And can you remind me the name of the project? You can see there's a delay too. We can talk about that as well.
Oh, I see there might be a bit of confusion here. Let me address the first question about the disagreement with a coworker. At Brightwave Marketing, there was a time when I disagreed with a colleague over the direction of an email marketing campaign. We were tasked with increasing engagement rates for a client in the retail sector. My colleague believed that incorporating more flashy graphics and animations would capture
So you can
attention
see
better.
he's kind of
In contrast,
repeating himself,
I felt that a
and
more
that's
personalized
an
approach,
issue
using
with
segmented
the
lists
memory
and tailored content
in the
would be
AI.
more effective. We had several discussions to understand each other's viewpoints and eventually decided to run A/B tests to see which approach worked best. This allowed us to blend our ideas and let the data guide our decision-making process. The name of the project was Retail Revamp Campaign. If you need more details about the results of that project, feel free to ask.
Awesome. So we're going to stop there. And I'm going to go into the workflow piece because that's the actual AI piece that I want to kind of like talk you all through. So I'm going to go over to the workflow over here. And please feel free if anyone has questions in chat. I can't see the chat right now, but if anyone wants to, like Meg or Megan or anyone wants to say something, let me know and I can answer. I'll quickly walk you through kind of like what this workflow does. So when we click and submit on that like voice piece, it kicks off the workflow. And what ends up happening is it looks to see if we did voice or text, because you can also type. If we do voice, it transcribes the voice and it sends that over to our AI API here. So you can't see what's in here, but basically it takes the information that we said and puts it into this here, the content. So we're basically passing our data into prompts. So we're passing our data into prompts and the prompts are putting an output together. So when it goes through this, like you can see the send the feedback. So that feedback panel there, it's basically reading through what we did and applying a prompt to like the feedback, looking for like, did we hit the right points and things like that. And AI is analyzing what we're doing. Then once that happens, it generates Jordan's like actual reply. So you can see this is like where it would generate Jordan's reply. and it's bringing in all of these different things. It's bringing in the feedback, it's bringing in what I said, and then you can see here, let's pop this out. You can see it. This is a very, very simple prompt here. You're playing the role of Jordan, a calm, respectful job candidate. No matter what the interviewer says, you respond with professionalism, warmth, emotional intelligence. So you can see this prompt is like very light. And one of the things like I didn't do well on this project is I have it segmented into two different work streams. So the work streams aren't related to each other. They don't remember what each of them said. So the first piece, when we talk with Jordan here in this greeting, we only get to say one thing. So the prompt can be very light because we're only saying one thing here. There's not a back and forth. When we go to the second work stream, that's where we needed a very robust like prompt. We needed memory because we're going back and forth. So the way that you think about these AI projects, because there's so many different ways you can do them, is thinking through these types of things. Because if we had allowed the whole thing to be robust and be a huge long work stream, there could be more chances for errors to happen. There could be more chances for Jordan to kind of like go off into a different direction. So the more that you can break things up, but still pass some of that information that has happened where it needs to, the higher quality that you'll get, the less errors that you'll get, the more quality output that you'll get. So the first workflow here is very simple. So it's just a greeting and back and forth. And once you get to that, it sends everything back to the front end. So then you could see the text actually coming up in that first one here, and then see what Jordan says. And then that stops. And then you saw me go over to this line over here, which is the long one and where things can start to screw up and there's things that can happen. And this one is a back and forth, so it's going through a loop. So it's going to loop 5 times. And so something that I do to control the AI output is I didn't do that full thing. It only has 5 times to go through it. So the more that you can restrict the back and forth, the better quality results that you're going to get. Like imagine if I had just let Jordan, just have Jordan here and we're just talking and talking and talking. The more Jordan can invent things, the more different things can happen, because some of these tools, they'll allow you just to have the avatar to talk with unrestricted. And so that's where things can go off the rails and you can say, tell me about like what you had for dinner. And then it goes into like, oh, it takes you out of the interview completely. So those are some of the design choices that I make. We have an AI agent here and we have a memory. So when we look at the memory, you're going to see this is basically all the stuff that we're saying to Jordan gets stored in the memory. So when Jordan's responding to us as the agent, because Jordan's an agent in the second workflow, they're going back through their memory of what we said. So that's how they could recall in that second question what we asked on the first question. But because I switched models, last night, I switched my model of my LLM to GPT-4o from like a stronger one. I noticed that it's kind of doing some weird repetitive things. And that's important. It's important to think about what model works best for your output and test and test and test. I test these things like so many times, and even making a model change, you have to test because the output will be different.
Mel?
Yes.
We have a couple of questions in the chat. So the first question was about asking, how are you hiding your API key?
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's so important. Okay, so and my partner is an engineer and we talk about security and things like that all the time. So one of the things that I do is making sure that I'm not putting anything public. No one can access any of this. I don't publish any of these files. These are proof of concepts where I'm never going to put it on my portfolio. I'm just going to be putting videos and things like that. Because if someone gets a hold of your API key, one, have usage limits, right? Set it to like $5 and say like stop the service if it hits more than $5. 2, if you don't do that and it's open, basically, I think there was like an article the other day or something that came out. Someone got charged $80,000 because someone let they had their API key and they had it protected, by the way. Um, they had it where you could only as one user hit the API 3 times and then it stopped. But swarms came in from people. So you can have agent swarms come in. So people can have all these agents come in and hit your API at once, and then it can rack up your bill. So you have to think through what are the things that I can do to prevent that from happening. And that's why a lot of people are talking about how vibe coding, which what this is vibe coding, what I created over here, is risky unless you have an engineer involved. So I would not release something with an API unless I had an engineer involved.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that. Just a couple more questions. Lots of questions coming in the chat. Let's see. There was one question about did your AI system prompt define, I think you answered or you showed us how the candidate would answer the interview questions, but did the AI system prompt define how the user does on the interview rubric?
Yes, let's go into this one. Is this not, hold on, not that one. Let's see. I'm trying to remember which one it is. Let's see. Okay. I'll go into this one really quick. You can see this is the actual agent of Jordan, and this one is much more robust, just so you can see this. So it's telling Jordan to sometimes skip result, and different things like that. So that kind of like helps to frame Jordan. But what you're asking is for, I do have the scoring. I'm just trying to remember in which node it is. And that's the thing too, these get like super complex. And I only use NAN so that I can kind of show people and think through like the workflow of things. So that's kind of like where that helps me. I don't want to spend too much time trying to like find it.
Yes, I know you have a lot of other things to show us, so I
No,
don't want
it's
to get too hung up on questions. And maybe what we can also do is if there are additional questions, people can drop those in the chat.
Oh, here it is.
We are recording this, so people can come back and watch it later in its entirety. But we can also have a way to like maybe have you respond to some of the questions in a written format afterwards if we can't get to them all.
Yeah, and this node here does some of that because there's different nodes that do different things. This one is evaluating the question and feedback, but this is not like there's more information in one of the other ones that's like to the quality, but this one labels them, so you could see the labeling before over here, so you can see this piece. But there's different ones that do different things.
Excellent.
And then any thoughts on like things that like you notice that maybe could be different, or like the responses or the feedback or anything like that, or anything that maybe could be more helpful to get more higher quality in that interaction with Jordan, or quality feedback even?
We did have one comment from somebody saying it sounds like part of the design is finding the right balance between the experience, how realistic you want it to be versus what you want the person to learn.
Yeah, it's very true. It's really hard to do that. And I even like question like, is 5 questions enough to go through to have someone build that skill? Like, I'm not entirely sure. So awesome. So we'll move to the next one. So this next one that I am going to show you here. Wait for it to load. So this one is where you are a cat cafe lead and you have all these sort of like safety incidents and complaints and things like that that you need to be coached on to help coach your store to be able to resolve those complaints and to prevent them in the future. And so you log into a point of sale system. So, like at the start of your shift, you're logging in. And the idea is that when you log in, it will give you just a short 5-minute training that helps you on the common issues of your store. So, what's happening with this particular one is you're logging into the point of sale system, and then we're taking data from your store. So this is all like fake Yelp data from the different stores. So this is store one, and it has a bunch of quotes from Yelp, like a fake Yelp. This is store two, it has a bunch of quotes. So pretend these are coming kind of from a database. And then store three. And then what's going to end up happening is, based on that data, we're going to generate a scenario within the training, and it's going to populate the training. And then it's also going to populate all the other screens in the training as well. And it's going to merge all of that and send it to our front end. So we're going to go ahead and execute this workflow. And it also is going to pick images. It's going to pick all kinds of stuff. So I have an image library, and GenAI is even picking the images for everything too. So it usually takes like a second to populate. All right, so our scenario is we are handling a customer complaint during a rush. A customer is frustrated about the wait time for their order during peak hours. Managing customer expectations while supporting your team is crucial right now. So what will we do? So we can apologize to the customer and promise to hurry their order, reassign roles to help expedite the order process while keeping the customer updated, or offer a customer a small discount for the inconvenience. Which one do you all think I should pick? Any thoughts or votes?
Throw your votes in the chat, A, B, or C. I'm seeing lots of B's. I'm seeing lots of C's.
I'm trying to show the chat, but
very few A's. It's okay. I got you, Mel. I think B is winning.
B. All right. You all right. That is the correct answer. And one of the things I struggled with so much with this is how do I get a rigorous enough question with answers so that people don't just like immediately guess what it is, and they're actually thinking critically about it, and we're focusing on the learning of this. So I'm going to click B, and all of yay, we got a little celebration. So it's going to tell us how that played out. So this was our choice. And then what happened was, by reassigning tasks and improving communication, customer wait times decreased and satisfaction improves. This proactive approach builds team efficiency and enhances customer experience. The takeaway is support your team dynamically during busy times to improve service. And then we can retry or we can continue. One of the things that you'll notice down here is does this information appear accurate and clear? I put that there, and something we've been talking a lot about with like some of the folks that I've been working with is ways that you can gauge if AI is working the way we intend or not. So something that you can do is have this actually go to a database, and then what scenario was generated, and then view that data in a visualization, and you can see outliers and flags where things maybe didn't work well, and then you can go back to your system and tweak it and fix it based on the feedback that you're getting from users. We'll go through here. This is also getting populated. Encourage open communication during team huddles to set a positive tone. Begin your shift with a huddle. So like an example, why does it matter? It builds trust and ensures everyone is aligned on priorities. And then it will give us specific skills. These change. Sometimes it's like 2, sometimes it's 3, and it's just based on the information there. So I'll go back to home, and I'm going to go over. So this is a very simple workflow here. And we're talking about the scenario and positive, people were talking about the distractors. Let's open this prompt here. So this one's a lot longer. So you can see I've gotten a lot better at writing prompts than previously. One of the things, let's take a look at this one. So We're passing over, you can see the employee ID, store ID, and all the reviews. We're analyzing those reviews to identify the top 1 to 2 issues most relevant for coaching that day. And then we are generating this specific, filling in this specific template. And then a part of this is we're picking pictures. So the picture you saw aligned with what the scenario was. I have a whole library of these pictures, and AI picks based on this information that it has. So it'll look at what was covered in the scenario and then pick a picture from here based on the scenario. And then we have rules for the image generation, scenario realism rules, design choices. And then this is where we start to get into writing the actual test questions. So let's see. These are certain things. So like one of the things I try to do is all of the questions answers have to be around the same length, because you know when you take compliance training, you know the right one is the one that's the longest. It's like always the longest one. So you can write all of those things into your prompt to make sure that it fits within like a certain guideline. Like everything has to be between this amount of characters or this amount of words and this amount of words, so that it's around the same amount. And one of the ways to ensure that it does that absolutely is after you write your prompt. So what I could do after I write my prompt and before it goes to the front end, it can check the answer fields. I could put a code node in there, and a code node hard codes and checks to make sure it's meeting a character amount. And if it's not meeting a character amount, send it back to the AI node and have it regenerate the AI. So one of the things like I'll do is hard code in the things that can help us to make it things a little bit more standard, because then that helps us get to what we want. I see a lot of like really great stuff going on on the chat. So what helped me become a better prompt writer? Aaron says. I think one of the biggest things is just testing. Some of these prompts I will test like 100 times, and then I'll test them with different models too, because the models give different outputs. Like if you're on Chat GPT Mini 4.0, Mini 4.0 is going to give you like 2 lines, whereas like regular GPT 4.0 is going to give you like 5 lines. So it's going to be more detailed, more robust. You're going to get better feedback, where Mini is like very light. So all the models do like these very different things. I have 2 more parts of this project, so I'm going to go over to something that's an absolute beast, and I kind of like regret doing it, honestly. This is a simulation within a simulation that I built. And so what this simulation does is it takes this training, and I created 2 agents that are going through their day. One is called Beatrice and one is called Kyle. That's what I named them. And so Beatrice in this simulation is taking our training. So Beatrice will take our training, and we're going through Beatrice's day. So we're simulating a day for Beatrice. So Beatrice takes the training, and then she sees what Kyle's doing. So Kyle is like her direct report at the cafe, and she has to coach Kyle, and things happen throughout the day. And then at the end, there's a log, a diary that gets created. And that diary helps us to see how she interacted with the training. Did she actually apply what she learned from the training, or did anything come up in her day related to the training? And it helps us gauge things like, are the questions rigorous enough? How can we improve like different things, like getting the right questions to people based on like things that are going on in their day? And then it logs her diary entry. And then from there, so the second goal of this project, other than trying to get feedback to improve our learning, is I wanted to use this to actually generate learning assets. So the second part of this is it creates a script based on that diary that we're calling Cafe Confessionals, that basically goes and writes like a reality show confessional, where Beatrice is like, this is what happened to me that day, and I remember the training that happened. And then Kyle says, oh, Beatrice like came in and helped me and this. So it's doing like two things at once. And I would not recommend ever doing it this way and doing this because it's very complex. And if one thing breaks, you have to figure things out. But it's just something I kind of wanted to test. So we're going to run through this. I'm not going to go into every node for time's sake, but I'm just going to kind of show you like what the output is. So I'm going to click execute workflow, and we're going to see it is going through each of these nodes here. So the first one is it's generating that training that we just looked at and went through. So it's generating it, and then it's sending that scenario to Beatrice saying like, here's this that we did over here. And Beatrice is going through that. And it's going to pass through all of these. And let's refresh. So we had 2 there. Let's go ahead. You can see it's going through this whole thing. So we'll see what the question was that Beatrice got. All right, so the question Beatrice got was managing the cat lounge chaos during a busy morning. A cat escaped from the lounge, and then we can see it's glitching because it's still going through the whole workflow. But you can see the questions that are being posed here. So you can instruct a team member to handle the cat. You can close off the cat lounge. There's different things. And then Beatrice is actually making the decisions on what Beatrice thinks is the best answer. So we're getting towards the end here. This node here is one that takes longer because it's using a more robust model, and it has like a lot of inputs. So you'll notice it will get like hung up there. So we'll come over here, look at this one. So you can see right here, I just read off in that node what it was. We're sending all of the information from the AI into a Notion. So the Notion is capturing basically everything that happened. So this is the scenario. This is what Beatrice chose. So Beatrice chose to instruct a team member to handle the cat while you manage the guest inquiries to ensure everyone is calm. And then Beatrice is telling us the reason for that choice. So we can see Beatrice's thought process, and then Beatrice's confidence in that choice. Then we can see the answer key revealed to Beatrice. So Beatrice got it correct. Beatrice, I've noticed I've probably run this like probably over 100 times. Beatrice gets it right, I would say like 70% of the time. And then I kind of gamified it to see like overall confidence, belief training works, all that kind of stuff. And then you can see what happens with Kyle. So something that's happening with Kyle is struggling to manage beverage orders as multiple customers request changes while waiting for their drinks. It's very busy in the cafe, and customers are feeling very confused, and there's a moderate risk. So Kyle is frantically checking the orders and looking between the register and the drink prep station. And then you can see Kyle's internal thoughts here. So what Kyle is thinking. And Kyle is saying, okay, just a moment. I'm double checking your orders to make sure everything's right. So he's calling that out to customers. And Beatrice is seeing this, right? So Beatrice is looking at this and saying, Kyle is clearly overwhelmed, but is making a solid effort to manage confusion by double checking and communicating with customers calmly. So you can see how the AI are kind of like overlapping. And all of this is going to be used to shape the script that we create for the training. And Beatrice says, Kyle, you're doing great catching those details. Can I help by confirming a couple of the trickier orders with the customer while you finish checking the rest? And then we can see more. I'm not going to go through all this, but basically afterwards we get this training transfer assessment. So this helps me to understand better how did the training work? Did it not work? And obviously this is an AI simulation. It's not real life. So like you have to take it with a grain of salt, but it can give you insights into maybe things that you missed and different things like that. So we can see that what Beatrice did and said to Kyle was led with skill, applied technique, supported by will, and coaching behavior. So the decision here was more influenced by Beatrice's prior experience and not the training that Beatrice took in the morning. If the training and what Beatrice experiences align, and Beatrice applies what Beatrice learned, then this changes. And I know that's like a lot to go through. And then what ends up happening after this is we'll go over here, we get this confessional. So this is where things get a little bit tricky with the AI. It's very bad at looking at that full document because it's so long and figuring out how to construct the script. So some of the things that I did to prevent that, the issues, was extracting just the diary facts, so just specific facts from the diary, then using that and generating the confessional script, and then running that back through to verify that it's correct. So it's checking things against each other to make sure it's correct. So you can have AI check AI. So that's essentially what I'm doing. When I don't do that, what we get is stuff like this. So at one point, Beatrice was talking about quails and talking about baby pandas and talking about all kinds of weird stuff because we didn't have something to check in place. And what was happening was the data wasn't passing correctly over to AI. And so AI was making things up. It was just inferring things. So one of the things I would do differently, I would say, if there's no data input to the AI, just stop the experience or do something else differently. Otherwise, you're going to get stuff about quails. You're going to get things that aren't related. Like this one's about baby koalas. I don't know. So the more and more you iterate and you test and you build in these guardrails, like checking to make sure the data is in there and checking these things, the closer that you're going to get to what you want. So we have the script here. And this one's still like a little bit this is not what they covered in the training because it was about cat chaos, but I guess it kind of could have been. And then we can see here, we're actually pulling in quotes from what Beatrice said, and we showed this earlier. So Beatrice said, "Kyle, you're doing great, catching those details." And then we have the rest of the script here. So you can use AI to automate script creation process. So if you have like a script creation process, you can do that. And then if you have like video templates and things like that, you can have AI send that over and actually automate that. So I'm going to show that piece next. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a video. So this is GenAI for images and videos, and we are going to put Beatrice and Kyle into the confessional, and we're going to take the script and build the actual video itself. And then I'm going to do this really quick so we can take questions and talk through things. So I am using a tool called Google Flow, and they just recently updated this, I think a few weeks ago. So I'm getting used to the new experience. But one of the things that I do to create quality, like in images and video in the way that I need, is I create my characters first and then I create my scenes. So I created characters, and then once I created the characters, I told it to put it into a reference sheet that, or not a reference sheet, told it to put it into a sheet where you can see the different views of the characters, so AI can understand what they look like from the front, the back, how tall they are, all of those different things. Because if you give it all the different angles, it will more accurately match the character. So first you come up with the character, then you create the character sheet, and you also create your image. And you want to start with one of these so that you get your style right. So I started actually with the background, and I said create a character matching this background that looks like this. Then once I did that and I had the character, I created these sheets. So what we're going to do for the first part of this is the image piece. We are going to select Beatrice, and we're going to select the scene, and we're going to say, put Beatrice sitting in the chair. Put this person sitting in the chair. And when we do that, I have it set to do 2 different examples so that we can see which one we like best. And whichever one we like best, we're going to actually use in our video. It just takes a moment.
Hey, Mel, while that's generating, maybe I can
Yeah.
ask you a quick question. So some people are wondering, kind of where to start. Like if you were going to kind of outline high level skills for some of these workflows, like how do they get from like beginner, newbie, like have never done this before to where you are? I
Yeah,
know that's a
exactly.
big question.
Because this is like this took a very long time, by the way, and it takes you have to have dedicated time to troubleshoot. So I would say where I would start is I would work with your conversational AI, whether that's Claude or OpenAI or whatever you're using, and think of a really kind of easy project to get into. So maybe you want to like the cat cafe one where it's just putting the answers into a template. Start with something like that and talk through your AI on building that and ask it, how could I build this in NAN, or how could I build this in like a specific tool, and have it walk you through and have it explain what it's doing to you. Say how did you come to this choice, because you're learning by prompting it what it's telling you to do. And start very small and then build. The way that I do every project is like this massive one over here, wherever it might be. It started very, very small. It started with two, like I had like this part and then I just kept adding to it. So start small and then build up complexity. And the best thing you can do is like speak with the with your OpenAI or your Claude or whatever you're using, and actually like have it walk you through those things. It can even create you something like this. Like you don't have to do this yourself. Even you can have it create it for you. But it's definitely like trial and error and starting small and then building on top of that. Okay, so we have our two images here. I like both of them. They both look very similar, right, to what we have here. So we're gonna choose one. Let's choose this one because she's looking a little bit more at the camera. And then we're gonna go over here to, oh, hold on. Actually, we need to go back because we need to select video. So we're gonna go over to video and we're gonna do ingredients. Well, actually, let's do frames. We're gonna do frames. So the start frame is going to be this one where she's looking at the camera, and the end frame. And so when you do frame to frame, the scene is less likely to change in the background. And we're just having her look at the camera. So you have to think through what image is going to work for frame to frame, what's going to work for ingredients. If we do ingredients, the background may not look anything like we're anticipating, like over the different clips if we're doing multiple clips. And when we do this, it may also change the background a bit, but that's okay because we're just going to keep using the same thing over and over. So we're going to take our script over here and I'm going to copy this piece and I'm going to put that in here, and this is going to load. And while that's loading, and then we'll have two to choose from. I want to see, does anyone have any additional questions about this? Yes. So for creating the interview piece, I used HeyGen, and I also used Replit as the front end. So the front end that has the video in it is Replit, so that's Replit, and then HeyGen is the actual like avatars. And there's like so many different avatar services, so you can shop around and see what one works best for you and pricing and all that. And while those are generating, let me go ahead. I'll show you one of the videos that I did with this technique, and we can take a look at that while that's generating.
This is Beatrice. It's a work day for her. She has an opening shift. She's a lead at Whisker Bean's Cat Cafe. On opening shifts, the day starts earlier than most people see. In about 30 minutes, she will be responsible for one cafe, a small team, and the first impressions of the day. When Beatrice arrives, the cafe is quiet. This is temporary. As the cafe comes to life, Beatrice takes her morning shift training. The door creaks open. Familiar faces. The shift begins.
All right, so this was created with VO, but using the ingredients technique versus the other technique. And we can see now our videos are generated. See how this one does not look like our style at all. Her eyes are kind of like very different from what we had wanted. And then we'll take a look at this one and this one too. So this is part of what happens.
Weirdly, we literally covered balancing support and delegation during the exercise we ran this morning. Weirdly, we literally
All right, so you can see it starts with how we wanted it, but then it ends up this way. So that's part of the issue with the video piece is sometimes you have to keep regenerating them to get it to be like exactly what you want. What I noticed is like it will get it to be like our original video and how like her mouth looked different and her eyes like doing things look different. If you do it, it does it like 50% of the time. But the downside of it is it eats a lot of credits. Like each time that you do this, it eats like 20 credits, and I'm down to 920 out of 1,000 credits. So it goes pretty quickly. So I could probably realistically make a full video of like this full thing, probably like 2 to 3 of them in a month, based on how it's done. She got real intense real fast. Yeah, let's take a look at this other one here.
Weirdly, we literally covered balancing support and delegation during the exercise we ran this morning. The scenario was all about not swooping in myself, but empowering the team. Weirdly, we literally covered balancing support and delegation during the exercise.
Could you avoid those eyes modifying the prompt before generation? That's a really good idea. Let's try that actually. So we're gonna go ahead and let's do this. What do you think we should try? Like, what should we say? I know we only have a few minutes left. Button eyes. Keep button eyes. Okay, let's try that. We'll just say persons. We'll see if that works. All right, so while that's loading, I know we only have a few minutes left. Hopefully this can be like the grand finale and it actually works. Have you tried using JSON prompting for video generation? That's a really great question because I know I've seen a lot of people have success with that in image creation. So that's what you're referring to is basically like seeing what the actual JSON would be from a video that I want it to replicate and using that as a part of the prompt. Is that what you're saying? So that it has something to go off of? Yes. Yeah, that could be really interesting to try out. Because I have seen people have success with that with images. So with images, you can get JSON from the actual images and it says everything about the images. And that helps you to create more consistency in styling.
Mel, as you mentioned earlier, sometimes asking AI what it should or shouldn't do, or, how can I do this better? I think somebody else did. So look at that. Her eyes.
But like, these are real buttons. Look.
Weirdly,
Are they?
we covered balancing support and delegation during the exercise we ran this morning.
I was wondering if that would happen.
But empowering the team.
That's actually,
Weirdly, we literally covered balancing support and delegation during the exercise we ran this morning.
Okay. No, but that's good because it took it very literally. And then this one did what we wanted.
We literally covered balancing support and delegation during the exercise we ran this morning. The scenario was all about empowering the team. Weirdly, we literally covered balancing support and...
Okay, that's great. So this one's good. I like this one. That's not bad. So, all right.
That was awesome. Thank you, Mel, so much for all of these demonstrations. It has been really great to kind of see behind the scenes and see kind of like the pieces and parts and how you got to where you have gotten so far on these projects, and appreciate you sharing this with the community. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for everyone for all of your great inputs, especially the last one about the buttons. Life changing.
All right, so sign up for more lit sessions coming soon. We'll see you all on the internet. Bye-bye.